Hey, friends. So, just like probably most of you, now and then I enjoy watching a good football game, so-called soccer here in the United States. But I'm not a diehard fan of any team to justify spending money on the sport. Now, some nations, however, are using what's called sports diplomacy to advance their national interests. And boy, do they spend money to promote themselves. We saw how Qatar spent billions of dollars to stage the latest World Cup, and its rivalry with Saudi Arabia to buy some of the best sports teams, infrastructure, and players has reached levels never seen before. Now, why so much focus on sports is likely the result of the Gulf nations anticipating a decline in their petroleum revenues and business in the decades to come. Now, in 50 years, there will be much less oil. Finding uh, deposits will be difficult and very expensive. And by betting on sports, among other things, these countries make a multiple choice. One, they improve their image. Secondly, they equip themselves with very high quality infrastructure, which will enable them to host more competition in the future. And they will obviously attract foreign investors and tourists, since, for example, Saudi Arabia has decided 2 or 3 years ago to open up to foreign investors and to highlight its heritage. Now, Saudi Arabia has just been entrusted, as you know, with the organization of the Asian Winter Games in 2036, and it plans to be a candidate with two other countries, namely Greece and Egypt, for the organization of the 2030 World Cup. Now, the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Qatar has for several years been shifted, maybe transposed to the sports business. The two regional powers have been competing to control assets in football, in Formula One, in so-called MotoGP Grand Prix, and cycling races, Olympic events, you name it. While the other countries in the region are active but more discreet. The two rivals, whose diplomatic relationships have been fairly difficult, have made sports one of their main vectors of their forward-looking strategy. Qatar has been using its sovereign fund known as the Qatar Sports Investment, or QSI, which bought the famous French football team Paris Saint-Germain. Now, in addition, Qatar won the 2019 Asian Cup of Nations against the rival United Arab Emirates, a historical ally of Saudi Arabia, which was experienced by the UAE as a real humiliation. Now, as for the Saudis, with their Vision 2030 project, they want to be present in the sports business. They have a lot of money. In fact, they have more money than Qatar, and they are everywhere. They want to host the 2027 Asian Cup, the 2030 World Cup. They will host the 2029 Asian Summer Games, along with the construction of a futuristic city called Neom, which will cost, without any doubt, hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia knows that his country has a deplorable image, and he's betting a lot on this project and more to fix that. Now, although sports is less of a priority to them, the United Arab Emirates are also active. They have the Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi. They have an organization called the City Football Group, which has the Manchester City football team as its flagship club and has bought clubs in several countries, in France, in China, in the United States, in Spain, in Italy, in Australia, and India, you name it. But they cultivate a certain discretion, as they are mainly focused, that is, folks in UAE and Dubai, they're mainly focused on luxury tourism in places like Dubai in particular, and in general business. Now, their image at the international level is better than that of Qatar, and especially that of Saudi Arabia, which these two countries are criticized on issues such as human rights, the condition of women, the fate reserved to or for the LGBTQ community, But these two countries have understood that sports can improve their notoriety and boost their image in the future. So now Saudi Arabia is also building a football industry from the ground up, spending billions more to buy some of the world's top players. They know it would require hundreds of millions of dollars to convince top players to relocate to Saudi Arabia, and to their chagrin, they could not get the Argentinian superstar Lionel Messi, who, as you know, moved to Miami. But many other stars could not reject those lucrative offers, so much so that some of them have made huge demands that defied logic. Demands that were, in most cases, accepted, such as the case of the Brazilian star Neymar. Check out the next video, and I'll give you a quick 20-second snapshot on what Neymar has asked his Saudi Arabian team.